risings and uprisers. I hope you all are doing well today. Currently, I am on Akimal Otaham Hohokam land here in downtown Phoenix. And I have just completed my permaculture training and earth activist training with Star Hawk this past week ago. So I'm excited to start sharing some more knowledge and information with you guys as I start to implement it into my life. And I'm also excited to start designing and preparing and planning for all of our permaculture stuff up on the land. And this picture that I have right here is a picture of a food forest. And a food forest is a permaculture coined term that basically just replicates nature's forests. So in nature's forest, you don't see one kind of plant planted in rows, hundreds and hundreds of rows. In nature, you see a variety of trees. You see shrubs growing on the ground. You see vines growing up the trees. You see moss and lichen growing on the ground, and a diverse species of bacteria and plant life and living animals all working together in this area. So that is what a food forest is, and you can do a food forest anywhere. It can be small or big, it can be on your patio or backyard or land. So the options are endless with food forests and permaculture. Permaculture means permanent agriculture, and permanent agriculture is the conscious design and maintenance of agriculturally productive ecosystems which have diversity, stability, and resilience of natural ecosystems. And this is from Bill Mollison, straight from his permaculture designer book. Let's pick out some keywords here. So agriculturally productive. So the idea behind permaculture is to replicate nature to create productive ecosystems. So we want to produce a yield for our families to survive off the grid. We want to produce a yield for the communities. And also we are producing ecosystems. In big agriculture, they aren't trying to create ecosystems. They're trying to create a single crop to sustain an ever-growing population. So the big idea behind permaculture is we're creating an entire ecosystem with living beings, animals, diverse array of species, and that brings me down here to diversity, creates stability, which leads to resilience, and of natural ecosystems. So we are replicating nature completely here. And the picture on the right actually has a really cool story that I will read to you guys, straight from Bill Mollison's book here. The great oval of the design represents the egg of life, that quantity of life which cannot be created or destroyed, but from within which all things that live are expressed. Within the egg is coiled the rainbow snake, the earth shaper of Australian and American Aboriginal peoples. We have a legend that explains the formation of the hills, the rivers, and all of the shapes of the land. Every time it rains and I see a beautiful rainbow, I am reminded of the legend of the rainbow serpent. In the beginning, the earth was flat, a vast gray plain. As the rainbow serpent wound his way across the land, the movement of his body heaped up the mountains and dug troughs for the rivers, which each thrust of his huge multicolored body, a new landform was created. At last, tired with the effort of shaping the earth, he crawled into a water hole. The cool water washed over his vast body, cooling and soothing him. Each time the animals visited the water hole, they were careful not to disturb the rainbow serpent, for although they could not see him, they knew he was there. Then one day, after a huge rainstorm, they saw him. His huge colored body was arching from the water hole, over the treetops, up through the clouds, across the plain to another water hole. To this day, the Aboriginals are careful not to disturb the rainbow serpent as they see him going across the sky from one water hole to the other. Within the body of the rainbow serpent is contained the tree of life, which itself expresses the general pattern of life forms. Its roots are in earth, and its crown in rain, sunlight, and wind. Elemental forces and flows shown external to the oval represent the physical environment, the sun, and the matter of the universe, the materials from which life on earth is formed. The whole cycle and form is dedicated to the complexity of life on earth. So that's the beautiful description behind this image here on the right. Now we're getting into some permaculture principles. Number one, always creating regenerative abundance. So in nature, if you're observing a natural abundant forest, humans don't need to go in there and upkeep it or water it or prune the trees. So the idea behind this principle is always creating regenerative abundance. So keeping your ecosystem like nature and self-sustainable and recreating itself. Nature is our model, always observe the nature. So in lots of permaculture projects, it's usually very slow moving because we are observing nature. And as you can tell, sometimes in nature, things take a really long time to happen. So in permaculture, we're not building up whole communities or whole houses within a year. It takes phases and it takes years to really understand your plot of land and your little square of nature. Our next principle, nature works in cycles and circles, design mutually beneficial relationships. So never take from the earth, always give and receive equally. Catch and store energy and water, use renewable resources. So this goes up with catching and storing energy and water. Our renewable resources would be sun, wind, and potentially water, depending on where you are. Our next principle is zero waste reuse. Value diversity because diversity is resilience. And we're learning this here in the consensus reality. Next principle is stacking functions. So if you have one little project, you want that project to have more than one function, or that plant to have more than one thing it can provide for. Feed what you want to grow. So feed things that, or grow things that you really love. Don't grow things that you don't like. Creatively use and respond to change because creativity is our only unlimited resource. Patterns in nature. And you can think about these patterns in a way, think about them, how can you use these patterns and how are they actually moving and functioning? So our first one is the branching pattern. You'll see the branching pattern in trees, leaves, rivers, oceans, veins, landforms, and arteries. And the branching pattern transports moving things in a flowing and fluid way. Waves can be considered a spiral. It is a pattern of absorption and pulse. And you'll see the waves in rivers and ripples. Spirals, you'll see in galaxies, hurricanes, flowers, the Fibonacci pattern of growth and expansion. You'll also see a spiral in the vortex or a helix DNA. And then the packing and cracking pattern, you'll see in a beehive, and bark on a tree, and water draining, and on your skin. And the packing and cracking is a pattern of contraction and expansion. And last, we have a radial pattern, which you'll see like an explosion. It's the sun, stars, volcano, flowers. And the radial pattern sends energy out equally in all directions. It's a pattern of attraction. Here's some pictures of a branching pattern with the tree tops on the left and a wing on an insect on the right. More branching. I love this shot of river from space. Spiral galaxy and the spiral pattern in a flower. Radial pattern in a kiwi and a snowflake and a succulent. And also the mycelium network is a vast and expansive pattern underground. And that kind of relates to webs. And ways to implement these principles and patterns into your life is invite diversity into your garden. Plant a wide variety of species of plants, both non-native and native, and also invite diversity into your life. Embody the patterns, create an herb spiral garden. Here on the left is an herb spiral, an elevated herb spiral to add diversity into your garden. Design your garden in a specific pattern. You can always plant your plants in a meandering, flowing pattern, or in a radial kind of explosion, something from the center and everything growing out from that one center point. You can design your altars with nature's patterns. You can design your room, your house, or even a whole plot of land based on a specific pattern. Um, you can compost and reuse, reduce, recycle, do all of the things to minimize your amount of waste. And then the last thing to implement these principles and patterns into your life is to meditate and strengthen your connection with Earth's cycles. And that is all I have for you guys. Right here, this picture on the right is just another example of how some beautiful patterns that looks like spiral and radial pattern can be used in permaculture and gardening and land design to make your space more magical and energetically charged. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, or enjoyed, I hope you have, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in our mighty network. And thank you guys for your continued support on our journey with the land and everything. Thank you. Blessings. Have a great week.